Welcome back to part 2 of my Workhorse Decks 2020 edition. And I had to stop because we were going into like the 30-minute mark, and now we need to take a break and move forward. So that's what we did. And now we are moving on to the next Workhorse decks. So I have to preface this by saying I don't typically like to mention the following decks on my channel anymore, and I'll tell you why. Let me get them out though, so we know what we're talking about here. My handy dandy. These are the Doreen Virtue decks. I don't typically like to talk about them because it's quite frankly her request. She's moved on to her new spiritual practice, and I made a choice to, I'll leave up the videos and the unboxings, I've made a lot of videos surrounding Doreen Virtue's decks, to be honest, and probably about 5, 6 plus, well, maybe not that many. The unboxings probably, and the discussions around her conversion to Christianity. Whatever. I've talked about it at length on my channel, and I just didn't want to do that anymore. It's like she's moved on. She don't want to make no money off of it. We can't buy them really anyway, so there's really no point in talking about them, even though I do use these 3 quite a bit in my readings, my client readings. So I thought it is worthy of mentioning in this video in the context with other decks to discuss, but on their own, and even in my month in reviews, I don't mention them anymore because, like I said, she don't want to make no money off of it, and we can't really buy them. Now, what would be cool is if they are re-released under someone who do want to have their name on the deck and make some money. The Life Purpose Oracle. Some people love this deck, some people hate them. I actually love it. Sometimes there's some specific stuff in there, like veterinarian, that, like, if it came up in my reading, first of all, I would never be a veterinarian. I love animals in the sense that I want them all to be happy and living free and wild and all that good stuff and protected, but I don't want to necessarily take care of them, So, but there are other ways you can, if you're a good reader, a tarot reader or oracle reader, you can be able to work through what a veterinarian card might mean in a life purpose reading. It may not necessarily just mean the actual act of being a vet. You know what I mean? So here's the guidebook. Actually really good. It's sad to me, honestly, that Doreen Virtue decided to turn her back on her gifts. That she actually could write a guidebook, let me tell you. Teaching, okay? So for my life purpose readings, here's oracle cards. You might be an oracle card reader, you don't know. I use this deck, not solely. I use it in conjunction with other cards or other decks, counseling. But it's quite accurate and quite informative. And I'm going to probably leave it out today because I have a Zoom live reading, and it's like a little Halloween party for a party of 3, and they might ask a question about their career or their life purpose, and I'll bust this out, sensitivity. So I won't keep going there. Like I said, I don't want to have this monopolize the whole discussion because that's not what this is about. I just want to show you that yes, I still actually do use them. The one that I don't really use anymore is the Romance Angels. And that's because it's so beat up. The gilding is a mess. And I love the deck, but I end up making my own Love Oracle to replace it. So I have that one. I feel like I have another. Oh, the Goddess Guidance Oracle. That's another favorite of mine. It's not a workhorse because it's a deck I only use for readings for myself. So that's why it's not discussed today. But that's another favorite of mine. So I think I have a total of 5 of her decks. I used to have 6. Here's the Angels of Abundance Oracle. This is for those abundance type readings. And like the name of my channel is Abundant Life Tarot. So, you want a reading about how to attract abundance that is alignment to what you want to do, not necessarily just what you gotta do. We could look that up too, but people want to live a more heart-centered, more passion-filled life specific to their tastes and their desires. And so I like my readings to lean towards how to do that and, how to manifest with the cards. I've manifested some big, big, powerful things in my life. And what helped me along the journey, not saying that these caused the manifestations, these just kind of show me on the path as I'm going down this journey, you know, helping me to answer some of the questions that I might have along the way. So that's, to me, what a reading is about. It helps you if you're open to the messages. I love employment change. So, I mean, they have all sorts, clearing debts. Ask for your needs to be met. Attracting, not chasing. Some of these. Do the work. Release resentments about money. Let go of guilt. Moonlighting. Let me talk about this card for a moment. So, back in 26, when did this deck come out? Because that'll tell me about the time I was like, what should I do? Oh, 2017. Yep, 2017. So I got this deck, and I was like feeling restless, knowing I wanted to do something else aside from the analyst jobs that I was doing or about to embark on that next journey in my career. And I pulled this card as it was at a time that I was really falling in love with like reading cards for other people, but I don't think I was ready yet to start reading professionally. But this card kept coming up over and over and over again. And finally I was getting so tired because the kind of readings that I do are longer readings, not those quick readings. I could do quick readings too. People do book quick readings with me, but many of my clients come to me for like an hour-long reading at times. And so before that, I was doing that for friends and family and co-workers, and it was wearing me out. So this card kept coming up like, girl, you need to start moonlighting. You need to start charging for your readings so you won't be energetically drained from them. And when I started moonlighting as a tarot reader, things really started to open up. So in August, I think, of 2017, I started my business, my online business. And the following year, I got a business license, which I got to pay to renew. I'm excited. In my county for my online reading business. And so the moonlighting now has turned into a thing where I'm faced with making the decision to go full time because now it's become too much. And it started with what? Moonlighting. And this kept coming up. So I love this deck. It's sad, like I said, sad to me that she has these beautiful talents that are God sent and God given. And she can't even see that. And she calls it devil work. And it's not. It's helping people along their journey. Like, really though? Like, how could it ever be evil unless you, the practitioner, make it evil? But I digress. Finally, the last of the three is the Butterfly Oracle for Life Changes. The Butterfly Oracle cards for Life Changes. I will only show you a few of these. These are some of my favorite cards because of the guidebook. She has a good handle on writing guidebooks, to be honest. Just going to say. And it has meanings like adult children. And let me tell you, this card came up for my 2020 New Year's reading for myself. And my adult children are just every bit wearing my nerves. So it ain't never lied. There's volunteer. There's self-employment. Emotions. Keep the faith. Relationship dynamics. I would stop and read the guidebook, but I might have done an unboxing for this deck, I hope. Sentimental. If not, and I don't know how I would not know if I did or didn't because I'm not going to check for it. But if you can't find it in my channel, let me know. And if I search for it, then I may do a deck in focus of this deck because I really enjoy it. But again, I don't want to glorify a deck that she don't want glorified anymore. Body changes. Healthcare change, retirement, they have hobbies, seeking and finding, finances, realizations and epiphanies, family changes, and yes, is it pictures of butterflies? Sure. What you're coming to this deck for is the keywords and then that amazing guidebook that she wrote. I won't keep going. Like I said, I've gone on long enough about her decks. But I would be remiss if I didn't tell you because I do actually use them in my practice, my professional readings. All right, so next up, there it is, right below it. Spirit of the Will. This is a U.S. Games deck, and this is created by Linda Awashina and illustrations by Jody Bergsma. And it's got it just in a tough box. This is an oracle deck, and I use this for those life purpose type of readings. And I'll tell you why in a moment. It's got a cool guidebook, I have to say. It's a white book, you know, but it's actually packs a punch. It really does. And there's some things that people will not like about it, like the backs. People don't like necessarily words on there. They don't like that. So, whatever. That's not really a big deal for me. It's Long Snow's Moon. And the key words are contemplation, messages, deliberation. Stone of the Ancestors, higher good, guidance, and choice. And so you can kind of pick the keyword that speaks to the situation. Experience, spirit path of the West, letting go, movement forward, reflection. Stone of Self, inner power, true self, and potential. So I'm going to keep going. I think I've either done a deck in focus or an unboxing of this deck. I'm pretty sure I've done an unboxing. And I've talked about this deck at length throughout my channel's history because I do use it a lot for client readings and for readings for myself. For time's sake, I'm not going to show all the cards, but just know that it's for those tarot readings where people are like having really deep questions. I have folks who will ask me about whether or not they should relocate up to another part of the world. And this deck speaks to that situation really well. So, I forgot the little title card. I don't like that it's in a tuck box, I'll be honest, because it's kind of hard to get this thing in here without messing up the cards or the guidebook, because it's a little white book. But other than that, I really like this deck, and it stays in my collection, and it will be traveling with me, closely with me, in case I need to bust out and do a should I move to here or there or a life purpose reading. Got to be ready. Next up is I mentioned it earlier, the White Rabbit Oracle. This is White Rabbit Oracle 1 and 2. Here's the cover of 2. And Ariana Siegel, she's the creator of the Oracle of Nightmares, which I spoke about in part 1 of this video, the Workhorse 2020 edition. So be sure to check that out. But this is another Workhorse Oracle that I sometimes, in lieu of my Dear Heart Oracle that I spoke of in part 1, I will use this as my light facing energies forecast Oracle, because I just sometimes am intuitively called to use this one instead. Here's the back of volume 2, or not volume 2, the version 2, I guess, I don't know, edition 2. And here's the back of the first edition. And they both are the same size, so what I end up doing, just like in true Kim fashion, I combined them up. And she has a guide on her website, Ariana. And what I did was I printed it in color and went to Kinko's FedEx and have them spiral bound it along with other guidebook PDF prints, because I was like, I need them all in one place. Let's just combine them all. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll periodically go and print more and add to it, and they will kindly they'll kindly add to it, which is nice. I appreciate that. All right, so let's look. Let's see what this card is. So here's Messenger. Let's just show you some. Here's Passion. Here's the first edition. That's the first edition too. Let me show you some of the Embody. Very whimsical, very, out there, and I just love the imagery here. This is the second edition. There are some similar cards. I think there's some that have the same keywords, but what she did was obviously she treated each card differently, and she had different card meanings. So if you had 2 secret cards, let's say secrets in the first edition and the secrets card in the second edition, they had different meanings in her guide. So that's cool. And I don't mind, like I said, I don't mind if it comes up twice. There's impermanence. I don't mind if it comes up, the messages come up twice. That means that there's multiple aspects of it that I need to look at in the situation. All right, so moving along, and I talk about this deck, or these two, at length all the time on my channel. Sometimes, like I said, some of the decks I have to refrain from constantly bringing up in my favorites because you guys will get bored. You'll be like, dang, she talks about the same decks over and over again. And that's because I love them. That's because I love them. All right, so, all right, okay. We'll talk about these two together. I'm going to have to reposition all of these once I take them all out. So let's first talk about the Energy Oracle cards by Sandra Ann Taylor. Many of you all have this deck. It's a 53 card deck by Hay House. And you'll notice a lot of my decks that are my working decks are mass market. And that's because I know that once I go run through them, I can easily get a new one, hopefully. You know, in pandemic world, it's kind of difficult sometimes for a printer to crank out a whole new, you know, batch, I suppose, of decks. But, you know, they work. And I don't want to beat up necessarily my really nice independent version decks that are actually valued higher than what you would find from mass market. So I tend to more so admire those and pull those out when I want to like admire them and use them for a specific purpose. But these are my workhorse decks. So we have the Energy Oracle and then Sandra Ann Taylor's The Quantum Oracle, both Hay House. This is created first. This was created second. And I love them both. Sometimes I'm just more in the mood to use this one. This one I use for New Year's readings. And then just also like some of my Zoom readings. Like I need highly accurate and messages where I can instantly be able to access off of a dime. Because I know this deck well. I've had it for years now. And I know it. We have the Angel of Abundance. Door to Value. It's a good all-rounder because it has romance cards in it. It almost kind of feels, some of the messages almost feels a little tarot-like. It says Rest and Rejuvenation, Angel of Love, Goddess of the Moon, Woman Holding a Heart. So to me that feels like very Queen of Cups. This feels very Queen of Pentacles, Woman Holding a Coin. Hostilities, Indecision. So, Cornucopia. This feels, the Happy Family feels very much like Ten of Cups. Journey feels very much like the Fool's Journey, Fool's card. We've got Envy. They've got some chakra combined with Archangel titles. So we have first chakra, Archangel Michael. Got some Jesus action here, Healer of the Ages, Blossoming Abundance. So I'm not going to keep going on and on. You can get the feel. It's a thick, chunky guidebook that you could dive into and just really. And she has reversal messages. This is a really good deck. A lot of people sing its praises because it is something that taps into many of our intuitive, you know, hits. Like it works. It just works. I can't explain the magic why it works. It just works. And the same with the Quantum. Sometimes I'm just called to use this one, the newer deck from Sandra. And It could just be because I like the feel of it a little bit better in my hands. It has, you know, I don't know, it's still super highly accurate, but I just like the way it feels. The other one is glossy. Back when Hay House was making super glossy decks. This says events, milestone. And then the guidebook goes into like, these are suits really, like intention. You have, I think, I don't know how many suits, 7. Honoring path, optimism, professional assistance, playing it safe, great achievement. I really like this deck for some strange reason. Okay, so I'm not going to keep showing all of those for time's sake. I want to make sure I get through all of these in a timely fashion. So I do use these decks also for all client readings and readings for myself. Like, I'm going to keep them out to do my New Year's reading for myself. I'm going to do my New Year's reading for myself personally a little earlier this year. I now have started the habit of like snapping pictures of them, and I put them in my yearly planner so I can consult and look at them. I save the pictures on my phone so I can look at them there if I don't have my planner with me. I have done a quick little video so I can kind of remember some of the highlights of what came up in my intuition, and I upload it in an unlisted way so only I can look at it at a later time. But I'm doing my reading early this year because I'm planning on downsizing and moving and packing away some of my decks, and I want to just already have a lot of that yearly stuff done. Okay, let's move on. Next up, we're going to talk about the last 3, which is the ones I created, my Oracle decks that I created with stock images. And let's talk about it. So I have them in this bag here. This is my Love Oracle. Remember in part 1, no, was it part 1? No, it wasn't part 1. It's this part where I talk about the Romance Angels Oracle by Doreen Virtue. They were so banged up that I had to retire them. I still have the deck, but it's retired. So I created a Love Oracle in its place. This one's now banged up, and I gifted my only extra copy to someone near and dear, another tarot, like an Oracle collector. So I'm going to probably print up a new one because this one's really banged up. That's because I do love readings. So I wanted to keep this as 54 cards, although I'm toying with the idea of adding a few additional cards to it to make it a more complete deck. But we'll see. I might just make a new, different love one for a specific purpose. But here's Free Yourself. I use this for all client readings. Doesn't matter if it's hotline, my private practice. I use it for my New Year readings for myself. Look at what's going on with my husband and myself in the love arena. But otherwise, I don't usually do love readings for myself. Don't. Some things I like to keep kind of a surprise, and the things that I ask about in terms of our love affair, it's rarely about how to conjure up romance, or I don't know, it's just rarely about those things. It's more about, okay, should we make this move? Should we do this? It's more practical reasons why I would bust out a reading. But I do want to know year over year how we're doing. So I will incorporate it as a part of my New Year's reading for myself. But this is used a lot in client readings. Look at that. Imbalance and fragmentation. You can tell the cards that come up frequently. Trust. So all I did was went and looked for stock photos. I already had keywords typed out that I wanted to have, and I did a play on some of the keywords that were in the Romance Angels, and that's what I did. And this works a lot better for me because most of my decks are more of a modern variety versus like the Romance Angels tends to be, what is it, like a Victorian era kind of like look or whatever. I don't know. Victorian era, I'm assuming. And that doesn't necessarily look like it goes well with some of my more modern decks. One of my favorite ones, Wounded. He's wounded. Finances and career affecting your love life. I like this one. Sex is affecting the relationship. It could be good or bad. Maybe the relationship is just built upon sex. Time to retreat. So I picked images that really would just trigger things for me in terms of being able to access those messages easily. So I love baggage is affecting the union. You see her kind of pulling it along. She's dragging it at times. Is it time to let that baggage go? I don't know. Infuse optimism now. Soulmate energy. Keep your options open. Flirtation. So I got the whole gamut, you know, in this deck that's covered. So that's cool. The next one that I created that I use a lot in my client readings is my One with the Earth Oracle. I have not published yet the unboxing because I just haven't. But here's the backs. This one's a newer creation that I made. But I love it. Land of the Trees. This one I use for more of my general readings. The other one, my love one, is obviously for love readings. Desert. This one is more for job readings, career, job, life purpose, school questions. Should I move? Should I stay? General questions. Things that are dealing with general life. Waterfall. Wave watching. So I just take photos that really speak to me and I tie them to the keywords that I've thought of that I wanted to have. Pilgrimage. I have 2 swamp cards. One that's at this angle swamp. Looking at it from the top. Let me show you. I want to show you. Actually, I am going to go ahead and publish this so you guys can see what I've been up to. This is what I did earlier in the pandemic. Not so much the love one. I think I had created that earlier before the pandemic. But this is some projects that Where's the other swamp card? Yeah, I'm going to have to post up the unboxing so you guys can see this. Is it even in here? Of course, I probably passed it up. Who knows? Anyways, it's 2 versions of the swamp. Like you're either looking at... Oh, there it is. Let's do this. So you're either looking at it in an aerial view or you are in it. So I will try to remember to publish that video so y'all know what I'm talking about. But this is the deck that I created. I just really connect with the oracle decks that I create for myself. I have not made a tarot deck yet for myself. A friend of mine's gifted me one that she created, a Black Lives Matter tarot. So cool. I use that one. I often use it with this deck or with my loved one, depending on who I'm reading for. Going home. You see her going home? She's going home. All right, Rose Garden. Railroad tracks. Deliberate steps. Commune. Winter. It's called One with the Earth Oracle. Sacred Ruins. Stillness. Daredevil. The Beaten Path. Okay. I'm not going to keep going because, like I said, I'll finally post up the unboxing at some point. But I use that as one of my working horse and workhorse decks. The last one, and I'm going to do an honorable mention since I didn't put it on here, which is strange. But it's in here and I should talk about it. The last one, though, that I created was my Ancestral Healing 1 and 2 decks. It is a massive, I want to say it's 160 cards, I think. 80 cards each. It's huge. I don't shuffle them together. I split them up and intuitively pick out which sections. I'll split them up and then maybe have about this handful. And this is the one I'm going to shuffle and work through. And I might just have 2 split and then I might consult both of them. So I'm not shuffling the full-on deck because it's 160 cards. But it's my Ancestral Healing deck, and I also use this one quite a bit. Peacekeeper, healing of the physical body. I have healing of the emotional body. I have different ones. Victory, Tiger, energy strands, offering, another desert card, vitamin therapy, acupressure, river, plant magic, spirituality, time, eclipse. I like eclipse a lot. And I like this version of my ocean. For some reason, I love the perspective of high up looking down. That just works for me for some reason. Hunter, Lord, treasure map. I have several ritual cards. This is one of them. Resilience. Butterfly is quite resilient. Alignment. And forest. Oh, America. So, oh, and gatherer. Oh, and one more. Disease. So I could go on and on. I use this deck also quite a bit in my reading practice. There's something about using the decks that you make, that you picked out the keywords, you picked out the images, you know the meanings. It just somehow works for me really well. And the honorable mention I wanted to say was the Mildred Payne Secret Pocket Oracle. I'm not going to go into it because I've talked about it also at length. I'm surprised I didn't put it here, but it's an honorable mention. I don't use it often as I did when it first came on the scene. But every now and then clients do want me to do my little Mildred Payne Secret Pocket Oracle reading, which I enjoy doing even to this day. It kind of feels very Lenormandy to me, but it reads like a tarot because it actually can do prediction for me quite well, and it also can really dig deep, believe it or not, even with just these little images here. You'd be surprised. And it's an oracle deck. It's the Dear Hearts or Mildred Payne Secret Pocket, Mildred Payne Secret Pocket Oracle. So it is an oracle that really feels like a Lenormand, and it reads like a tarot. That's why I really like it. Mushroom. So I have all the additions for this small one. I know that there's a bridge size one I'm toying with getting, but for now this works just fine. It works just fine. So there you all so much for joining me today as I went through all of my Workhorse decks and explained to you why they are my Workhorse decks. And this is my 2020 edition. I'm sure that if I do this again in 2021, things might be different because, you know, things shift and change as we all do, right? Let me know what your Workhorse decks are. I'm super duper curious. What are those decks in your collection that you use all the time, that your clients will know and know you as the one who uses? Which deck is that? Tell me in the comments below. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video, and also please don't forget to subscribe so you can be able to check out more content. And of course, if this is actually only published on my membership and you're watching it here versus on my channel, because maybe I at the last minute decided not to put it there. Who knows? I don't know. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. All right, guys, love you. Take good care of yourselves.